Dipping your building a guitar toes into the pool. An easy sub $650 guitar build. I purchased all of the components for the build on eBay and Reverb. You'll have to search by the part names and find a specific seller and the price you want to pay. There's multiples for everything. I put the part names and pricing in the description of the video. Please note that just like eggs or bread, the prices of these items change frequently. Almost always they go up in price. Don't get mad if you're watching this video a few weeks, months, or even years from now. Right now is May of 2024, and you find that the prices are much higher. My goal of this video is to do a build that most folks can replicate and with pretty good quality components for less than about $700. It's kind of an entry-level build. The end product will be on par with a made in Mexico Fender Telecaster guitar. Here's what I purchased. I started with True Custom Shop Vintage Flush Chrome Body Ferrules, and I paid $9.97 for them. I bought a Telecaster body it's a two-piece Alder in orange red with white binding. I paid $99.99 for it and paid $45 in shipping because it was coming from China. I bought a loaded pickguard from stratosphere.com on eBay, and it was everything that was inside of Fender Vintera 260's Telecaster. So I got all the pickups, all the wiring harness, all of the hardware, everything, and I paid with shipping and tax delivered $174.74, which is actually a really good price. And this is also, in my opinion, one of the better sets of pickups and wiring harness that you can get in a guitar today. True Custom Shop 3/8 nickel jack cup ferrule kit for $6.97. A genuine Fender F neck plate for $9.78, and it came with the 4 screws. 2 pieces of metal end pin strap buttons for $6.24. A Fender American Vintage 3 saddle Telecaster bridge plate in chrome for $12.99. A set of Wilkinson Telecaster brass compensated saddles for $10.75 for the set. And then I bought a neck from 1950s Finish on Reverb, and it's a 22 fret 1960s hand finish relic Telecaster, all parts Fender license rosewood and maple neck, and I paid $278 plus $15.99 in shipping. So the total for everything, the entire project, was $684.71. So let's start talking about the body. I purchased an inexpensive Chinese-made body that has a polyurethane finish. If I was looking to assemble my first guitar, I would want something that has all of the pilot holes pre-drilled, and this guitar has all of that. This would make the build much easier, as I would not have to measure and align things. The cool thing is I've purchased about a dozen of these bodies over the past year from this company on eBay, and they have great dimensions and fit all of the parts I've installed on them. Plus they look great, and they're pretty inexpensive. I paid $99 for this, granted $45 in shipping, but to be honest with you, $150 for a fully finished body that has everything already pre-drilled and stuff is kind of a great price. Another approach for a star body is to buy a Fender made in Mexico body that comes in 3 different colors. There's basically black, red, and 3-color tri-burst. And these run between $249 and $299, and they'll have everything pre-drilled for you as well. And you can find those on Reverb and Amazon. For poly-finished bodies, I like using flush string ferrules if you're not using an arbor press to install them, but instead are using a hammer and punch. The impact of the hammer on a ferrule with a lip, if it hits the body, will fracture the poly finish and you'll have cracks. The great thing about flush ferrules is there's no lip to come in contact with the surface of the guitar, so you don't likely have this happen. With this body, they had pilot holes started for the 4 bridge holes, so I needed to drill them the rest of the way. For the size bridge screws I use a 1/8 drill bit and make sure I measure the depth and mark it off with tape on the bit so I do not over drill the holes. If you're using a hand drill, make sure the drill is straight or perpendicular to the surface of the face of the guitar. For the screws, I stick with either Fender or True Custom Telecaster bridge screws. I like the quality of both. I used a Fender stamp bridge plate and Wilkinson brass compensated saddles. I positioned the neck pickup in the routed cavity. The thing about this body is the routing is fairly snug, so I really didn't have to worry about alignment, or the pickup just pretty much fit in the routed cavity. I drilled the 2 holes for the pickup screws. Then I installed the screws into the pickup and put the surgical tubing over the ends of the screws. The one downside of attaching the neck pickup directly to the body of the guitar and not through the pickguard is it makes adjusting of the pickup height hit or miss. You really need to eyeball it before screwing down the pickguard in the end, or you're going to end up having to remove the pickguard to adjust. Next is I installed the retainer clip into the body using a special tool that I purchased from StewMac. The retainer clip is the part that goes inside of the hole, and the output jack fits through it, and then you put the cup over the top of the output jack and screw it in place. For me, the tool was a worthwhile investment, as I've now used it hundreds of times. It's called the Tele jack installation tool, and it goes for less than $40 at StewMac. If you're doing 1 or 2 builds, though, maybe it's a little much for you to invest. The other 2 ways of installing the output jack are you can buy a football-shaped faceplate with 2 screws that you can install on the outside of the guitar body, and then you screw the output jack to it. Or you can install a 4-screw square plate. Either works really well. I would say the only downside is that it doesn't look as authentic, but how many people are going to be looking at the bottom of your guitar? The bridge pickup that came with this kit has a copper plate on the bottom of the pickup with a ground wire installed. What this means is once you screw the pickup into the bridge, it has ground contact then. So you don't have to run a separate ground wire to the bridge. I mean, you can, but you don't have to. For soldering with a kit that I purchased from stratosphere.com, all you need to do is tin the end of the 4 pickup wires and then solder them to the wiring harness. 2 of the grounds go to the back of the volume pot, and then the 2 hot leads go to their slots on the switch. Before you proceed, you really need to plug a guitar cable into the guitar and plug it into an amp. You turn the tone and volume pots up to 10, and then cycling through the 3 positions of the pickup selector switch, tap with something metal on the pickup that you're testing. So if you're in position 3, tap on the neck pickup. If you're in position 2, tap on both the neck and the bridge pickup. And if you're in position 1, tap on the bridge pickup. The metal tool will disrupt the magnetic field of the pickup, and it'll make for a popping noise in the amp. I don't know how many times I've saved myself a lot of work by testing at this stage and finding a simple problem that I could correct quickly so I don't have to button everything up and then tear everything back apart to find the problem and fix it. Aligning the pickguard and control panel is pretty easy to do. You just want to be patient and don't screw anything in just yet. The things you want to watch for are the pickguard at the neck pocket needs to come just to the edges of the neck pocket on all 3 sides. So when you install the neck, the pickguard should be flush against it. The bottom of the pickguard then needs to center around the bridge with an equal amount of gap around both sides. Last, the control panel cover needs to fit into the pocket of the pickguard and also be parallel with the right side of the bridge plate. I'll drill 1 hole in the pickguard and 1 in the control plate, put screws in, and then I'll kind of look at it to make sure that it's still aligned, and then I will then drill out the rest of the holes and insert the screws. So let's talk about the neck that I used for this project. I really like the All Parts or Mighty Mite licensed necks. They're really affordable, they fit and work well, plus you can still get rosewood fretboards. Through a company on Reverb called 1950s Finishes, I can get an all-parts neck to my specifications like number of frets, radius, and fretboard, while also getting a nut pre-installed and the frets dressed, polished, and leveled. All of this comes with the level of aging that you want. You don't have to have aging, but I kind of like a broken-in neck. The necks also come with tuners pre-installed if you like, and holes for installation into the body. I have now ordered about 6 necks from them and have been happy each time. This neck has the following specifications. It came with 22 extra jumbo nickel silver frets, a 25.5-inch scale length, 12-inch radius, a C-shaped profile, and a new bone Graphtec nut shaped and installed, vintage-sized tuning peg holes with nickel H tuners, and a string guide already installed. So I placed the neck down into the pocket and then pushed it down with the palm of my hand. Don't slide it in. I then, using a screwdriver, installed the 4 neck screws and played. I found that it's easy to get your saddles in pre-adjustment position, basically in the ballpark before you install the strings, and have pressure then placed on the saddles, which would make it more difficult to adjust. I start with turning the saddle adjustment screw clockwise on the far left saddle. This is the saddle for strings low E and A. I am turning it clockwise so it's moving the saddle back away from the bridge pickup, and I adjust the saddle so when I am done, the back of the saddle is just over the front edge of the far left bridge screw. Then I turn the adjustment screw clockwise on the middle saddle so it is moving in the same direction away from the bridge pickup. I adjust the middle saddle so it ends up about 1/8 of an inch closer to the bridge pickup than the left saddle that I just adjusted. I then repeat this step on the far right saddle until it is about 1/8 closer to the bridge pickup than the middle saddle is. This will get you in the ballpark, so when you are doing final intonation setup, you're pretty close. On this specific guitar, I was pretty much spot on, and I did not need to make any additional changes. I then installed the strings. The first thing I looked for is how the low E and the high E strings align to the edges of the fretboard. My first glance showed me the high E string was too close to the edge of the fretboard and the low E had too much space on the edge. I loosened the 4 neck screws and I adjusted the neck position and then tightened the screws back, locking in the correct alignment. The last thing I needed to do before full setup was to do an basically in the ballpark tuning while sitting on the bench, the guitar, and then adjust basically string height, bringing it close to where it needs to be. What is really cool for me is this build only took me about 47 minutes to complete from beginning to end. I'm experienced and I've built several hundred Telecasters in the last couple years. I'm confident in what I'm doing. But it's not a race though. Take your time and always keep your cool. Walk away if you need to. I always make my mistakes when I'm hurrying or stressed. The most important thing though is have fun. And when you, for the very first time, plug your guitar into an amp and you can actually hear the strings being played, smile because you did that.